that those after them may live. But sometimes, even standing tall is wrong.
Young master, you grew up beside the peaceful river at Heaven's Pier, so you did not know that for thousands of years the Yellow River has given life, fertile soil, and grain fields to the people who live along its banks. But it has also taken much away, bringing sorrow whenever it grows angry. Each time the floods come, people mourn loved ones swept away by the river. And when the waters recede, they weep again as they search for the remains, hoping to give them a proper burial. Joy and sorrow exist like a balance that cannot be broken, like the rise and fall of a dynasty, like the life and death of a hidden hero in Kaifeng who once walked before you. A woman of many names, the red-sleeved fairy, the Cornus physician, the river master, Zhu Yu. There is a saying, those who cannot save themselves cannot save others. But Zhu Yu always believed the opposite, that those who cannot save others are the ones who cannot truly save themselves. Having lost her family in the chaos of war, it is easy to understand why she held on to this belief. The pain of failing to save someone became a lifelong regret that never faded. Perhaps that was why she chose to become a disciple of the Silver Needle, those who wield swords to kill, yet also carry needles that can save lives. When the Khitans invaded, she left the Silver Needle sect and traveled the Jianghu, saving whoever she could. Her master often said that kindness was the rarest virtue in times of chaos. Back then, Zhu Yu had not fully understood those words. She arrived in Kaifeng in 947, a city drowning in suffering after the later Jin fell and the Khitans occupied it. She witnessed not only the brutality of the Khitans, plunder, arson, and raids treating human lives like grass, but also how cruel people could become toward one another when order collapsed. It was true. In troubled times, kindness was the hardest thing to find. Zhu Yu drew her sword to protect the people. From that day on, stories spread throughout Kaifeng of a red-sleeved maiden who safeguarded the helpless. Hearing that the incomparable tavern was hosting a banquet for the Khitans, she set out to punish the traitors. But it turned out the tavern keeper was also a Jianghu swordsman, and the banquet itself was a trap meant to burn and slaughter the Khitan officials. Together, they joined forces and killed many Khitans that night. That same night, a beggar named Zheng E saw the banquet and drew near, begging for food for his brother. Unknowingly, he witnessed the bloodbath, and Zhu Yu saved his life. When he asked how he could repay the debt of his life, Zhu Yu told him to give her the most valuable thing he possessed. He had nothing, only a golden leaf woven from grass. Since his life was all he had, that was his most precious possession. Zhu Yu said she would take the leaf and a life. By that, she meant that he must save another life in return, to repay a life by saving a life. This benevolent and righteous act gave birth to the immortal leaf legend, a story told in Kaifeng for years to come. Later that night, Khitan officials found only a pile of corpses and a single golden leaf made of straw left behind. In the days that followed, Khitan soldiers were found dead in their beds, stabbed with poisoned hairpins. Traitors who collaborated with the Khitans were discovered hanging from trees. Each corpse was marked with a golden leaf. The clues suggested the killer was not one person, sometimes appearing male, other times female. The Khitans began a relentless search for anyone carrying a golden leaf. To their shock, everyone in Kaifeng now carried one. It was not only a way to protect the hero's identity, but also an act of inspiration. Many began to follow Zhu Yu's path of righteousness. Later, the beggar adopted a blind girl and named her Zheng, fulfilling his promise by saving a life.
Are you still hurting, Dad?
Seeing your face takes the pain away.
I met a wanderer like that myself, who helped me find the gold leaf. It's her. She asked the wind for my leaf.
Oh, go on. Tell me more.
Once illiterate, he learned to read and write, and under the pen name Yu Shi, he wrote a storybook about the Golden Leaf Swordsman. It became an immortal tale, how a single leaf from a dying tree could give rise to thousands more, just as one righteous act could inspire countless others. In troubled times, kindness is truly a treasure. Though the fight against the Khitans made progress with the rise of the 9 mortal ways, the work there was far from complete. The Imperial Medical Academy now treated only the remaining nobility, leaving its halls nearly empty while still refusing to care for commoners. Zhu Yu led wounded civilians and soldiers alike and stormed the medical hall, awakening the academy to the compassion that should define all physicians. Healing knows no boundary of status or worth. From that day on, she took charge of the medical hall and oversaw treatment for the people of the city. With the overwhelming number of wounded, rare herbs quickly fell into shortage. Zhu Yu revised the ginseng lotus decoction, replacing scarce and costly ginseng with a common, affordable alternative, Cornus, or dogwood. Thus, she created the Cornus soup, even more effective than the original, while solving the crisis of herb scarcity.
I asked my mother where the ingredients for the porridge are, how to make it. I'll make it. It's a porridge that can revive the dead and heal bones.
Don't be sad. That porridge was sweet. Your mother didn't want to see you cry.
In Chinese, the name Cornus sounded the same as her own name, Zhu Yu. To this day, the Medical Academy still carries on Zhu Yu's tradition, treating commoners and nobility alike and earning the people's reverence. They cure all kinds of illnesses, even lovesickness.
Why can't any physician cure the young lady's ailment?
If it's lovesickness, it's beyond ordinary physicians. Only the Imperial Medical Academy's An.
For real? But she's betrothed to Gongzi Li.
It seems only Dr. An's silver needle can cure Miss Wang's condition. When order returned and the later Zhou was founded, Emperor Chairong held Zhu Yu in the highest esteem and built a pavilion in her name within the medical academy. It was a bond of mutual admiration between two righteous souls, one that occasionally made Feng Yi grow quietly jealous. Yes, that Feng Yi, the boatman who would later become her husband.
In the clouds, under the earth, in the river depths. Where don't I have old friends?
Feng Yi first met Zhu Yu when he came for treatment and felt for her at first sight. You may wonder how such a large, rough, free-spirited fisherman could ever catch the eye of a red-sleeved fairy. The answer was simple. Beneath that rugged exterior lay a heart of profound kindness, one that loved Zhu Yu in a way no one else could.
Back home, we watch out for one another. But out here, you gotta keep your wits about you.
A fierce woman fears no brute, but even she cannot resist a man who never leaves. When she needed food, he became a cook. When she wished to travel, he became her groom, borrowing a white steed so she could ride through mountains and blossom-filled roads. As for their 3 children, Feng Ruzhi, Zhang Shuo, and Zheng E, whenever a birthday came around, Feng Yi was always the one in the kitchen. When he spotted a stray child, he never allowed them to go hungry. Somewhere along the way, Feng Yi spent more time by the stove than wielding a sword. So much so that when new recruits joined Dragon Hall, they mistake boss Feng Yi for the head chef. That was the kind of family man Feng Yi became. Once a man who believed one should live freely for oneself, like the wind, he came to believe that where there are people, there is a home. And where there is a home, there should always be hot food waiting. There is a saying, put your wife above yourself, and happiness will follow. For Zhu Yu, her years living with Feng Yi were the happiest of her life. For thousands of years, the Yellow River has given life to those along its banks, but it has also taken many things away and brought sorrow every time it rages. Yet the will of humans knows no bounds. How to tame the river, how to make the beast fully bend to human will. To go against the gods requires another god, and thus a method was born, a way to create a colossus that could quell the silt beneath the riverbed and bend the river to its will. Mirroring the legend in which the Jade Emperor rewards heroic efforts, when a carp swims upstream and leaps the falls of the Yellow River at Dragon Gate, transforming into a mighty dragon, many carps would try, but only a very few succeeded. The carps underwent a mutation process. Out of 100 carps, only 1 succeeded and became the mighty Dragon King. 99 died in vain. The one who controlled it became the River Master, a deity-like being revered by the people living along the Yellow River. Yet it was also a method of sorrow. The mutation relied on an elixir called the Dragon Transforming Elixir. Though it prolonged the carp's life and size, it gradually caused the creature to lose its sanity. After 15 years, it would completely lose its mind, and the River Master would have to kill their companion. A sword with red thread coiled 68 times mirrored the 68 generations of River Masters who safeguarded the Yellow River's banks. Beneath the chamber lay the remains of the first true dragon, or the first River Master, buried using a method from the Yangshao culture over 3,000 years ago, with clamshells forming the green dragon on the left and the white tiger on the right. This was the burial method reserved for emperors of that era. Among the names carved on the tablets was Yu the Great, the legendary king of ancient China, credited with the first successful flood control efforts, aided by Yinglong, a dragon from the celestial realm. In this tale, he is reimagined as the first River Master who successfully tamed the Yellow River. After him came other legendary figures associated with flood control, Li Bing of the Zhou dynasty era and Wan Jing of the Han era, until the title eventually passed to the Zhang family. That lineage continued until the supposed 67th River Master, Zhang Yangling. But he dreamed of roaming the Jianghu, of seeing northern deserts and southern peach blossoms, and tried to flee from his destiny. The title of River Master was left without an heir, and his brother Zhang Yanqing was weak in power and unable to fully control the Dragon King fish. Zhu Yu never believed in gods, only in herself. After witnessing how the Zhang family deceived people into making offerings during rain rituals at Solitude Hall, her disdain for such trickery deepened. Yet the people believed in it. Just as Zhang Yangling once said, "Belief is the best medicine in this world." Before leaving to chase his Jianghu dreams, he placed the Dragon Rite scroll into her hands and asked her to become the next River Master. In May 947, the Khitans began to withdraw, and their route would take them through the Roaring Sands. Imperial forces fled, leaving the people of Roaring Sands trapped among invaders with no escape. They prayed and begged for the River Master's aid to quell the invaders. But Zhang Yanqing, though serving as the transport officer at the time, was weak and helpless and could not control the Dragon King. At that moment, Zhu Yu stepped forward, swearing a blood oath to carry on the title of River Master. They devised a plan to lure the Khitans into a low-lying area, where the Dragon King could unleash the Yellow River's tide and drown them. Zhang Yanqing would pose as the River Master and feign surrender to the Khitans, revealing that the River Master was nothing more than a deception used to extract offerings from the people. Though this act would stain the Zhang family's name forever, exchanging the honor of one family for the lives of the people was a sacrifice worth making. Zhang Yanqing succeeded in deceiving the Khitans and luring them into the lowlands. Meanwhile, Zhu Yu, as the 68th River Master, rode the Dragon King into battle, quelling the Yellow River's waves, shattering enemy ships, and dragging the invaders into oblivion. Though the plan succeeded, the Zhang family could not escape Khitan vengeance. Only one child survived. Zhang Shuo and Zhu Yu rescued him and adopted him as her son. From that day on, the Yellow River had its 68th master. She later asked Mohist Hill to develop a flowing water chamber to prevent floods permanently, without relying on the cruel Dragon King method. The underwater chamber where the Dragon King was kept had been a Mohist Hill design dating back to the Tang dynasty. Zhu Yu and Feng Yi founded Dragon Hall and formed a strong alliance with later Zhou dynasty, taking charge of waterway grain transport and managing the Ruzhi dike along the Yellow River. Looking back now, the red-sleeved sword fairy who protected the people, whose name sounded like Cornus, the medicine that saved lives, whose name meant vermilion fish, becoming the River Master who safeguarded the people, whose name rhymed with Dayu, Yu the Great, the first River Master in history. It truly feels as though destiny stirred once more, as if the celestial realm had sent this woman to ease the suffering of the people, like a living bodhisattva walking among mortals. But the peaceful time did not last long. That same year, 951, when the Waiter Han fell and the Waiter Zhou took control, tragedy struck the Zheng family manor in Gracetown. The Zheng family was wealthy, while the Shen family lived in poverty. Zheng E and his sister Zheng Ruan would secretly set aside grain and give it to Shen Yilun, The three children once made a promise together to see a world at peace where no one would ever suffer from hunger. When famine set in, remnant soldiers turned into bandits and began raiding villages outside Kaifeng. Sheng Yilun's older brother, Shen Yi, was among those remnants. When he saw Zheng E giving grain to Shen Yilun, greed took hold.
Someone! Help! Save them! Great hero! Zhang and Arun have been taken! Please, save them!
He not only looted the manor, but also set the home on fire. Zheng Ruan died tragically under his blade. Luckily, Zhu Yu arrived in time, slew Shen Yi, and saved Zheng E. In a single night, Zheng E lost everything.
I secretly used the grain to help Shen. So everyone ended up dead. It's because I just wanted to be a good person.
It is true. In troubled times, kindness is the hardest thing to find. That a single act of kindness could bring Zheng E such tragedy was unbearable, and Zhu Yu would not allow the kindness within this child to be extinguished. She adopted Zheng E and taught him martial arts and the healing arts of the Silver Needle. The surviving members of the Zheng family moved to Sorrowfield to settle, while bandits took over the Zheng family's old village, now known as Gracetown. In 954, Sun Buqi's experimental laboratory researching the dawn to dusk blossom was destroyed, releasing frost poison throughout the southeastern region of Kaifeng and creating a poisonous fog later known as Mistvale Forest. The Zheng family in Sorrowfield, along with Zheng E, was also affected by this poison. To save Zheng E and the villagers, Zhu Yu sought a cure, but was unfortunately afflicted herself. She summoned disciples of the Silver Needle to aid in finding a cure, but news of Sun Buqi's immortality experiments also reached the Aureate Pavilion and the Hollow Vale, igniting conflict between factions over the poison research and slowing progress toward a cure. Bearing the pain of poison gnawing at her bones, Zhu Yu continued to manage the Imperial Medical Academy, oversee Dragonhole's grain transport, and research antidotes for years. Her perseverance earned the admiration of Emperor Chai Rong, and she became a trusted ally of the court. Emperor Chai Rong issued an edict to erect the Drum of Heavenly Vindication on Ethereal Mountain, a place overlooking the Yellow River Dike all the way to Kaifeng. The drum stood as a symbol of sworn alliance. When it was struck, whether enemies advanced or the waters stirred, the allies would come. Then came that fateful day. In 960, the Yellow River raged. Zhu Yu beat the drum, shaking the skies. But the flood watcher, Shi Shoksin, did not answer the call. Perhaps the sound of the drum that shook the heavens was not louder than the cheers that greeted his new lord Zhao Guangyan's ascension as emperor and the founding of the Song dynasty. Zhu Yu kept beating the drum in desperation. The wailing of families and the frantic screams of children wove themselves into its rhythm until the drum finally shattered. The drums stopped. The cries stopped. The mourners were dead. In that turning moment of history, the drum became a reminder of an oath that should have been upheld. Its shattering mirrored the broken trust of the people of Roaring Sands, and like the cries of the common folk, it was ignored as history turned to a new page. As for Shi Shoshin, whether he truly did not hear the drum that day or chose not to hear it, he would forever be cursed as a betrayer of his vow. He never returned to his home village. Later, he became the commander of the Imperial Guard. Some say he was a disgrace. Others say he was a wise man who judged the situation correctly and earned the favor of the new dynasty. The dike broke. Zhu Yu continued controlling the Dragon King, fighting the flood. Only those bold enough to defy heaven can become river masters. The frost poison that withered her bones also kindled a final fierce power. In those last moments, she understood. For thousands of years, the Yellow River has given life, yet it has also taken countless lives in return, like a balance that cannot be broken. Too many stars, and the moon cannot shine brightly. Too many fish, and the water cannot run clear. Too many men, and the world cannot be at peace. Some must die so others may live. Some must kneel so others may stand. Zhu Yu passed away. Her body was sealed within a stone coffin beneath the river to prevent the spread of the dawn to dusk poison. It was also a symbolic act, returning the vermilion fish to the river. On the day Zhu Yu died, a man clad in black appeared. No one knew who he was, yet many believed that Zhu Yu's mysterious death was the work of the Song court. In an age when power changed hands within years, those revered by the people more than the emperor, or those loyal to a fallen dynasty, could easily be threats to absolute rule. After Zhu Yu's death, Feng Yi departed to investigate the mysterious death of Chai Rong, hoping it might shed light on Zhu Yu's fate. What he discovered remains unknown. But after his return, he deliberately spread rumors of the River Master's return, hoping the true mastermind would reveal himself, to lure out the one who might be behind Zhu Yu's death, the one who feared the River Master's reappearance. As expected, Zhongyuan appeared. In truth, he was the prefect of Kaifeng and the emperor's brother. His presence that day was confirmation enough that Zhu Yu's death had been sanctioned by the Song. Yet one question remained. Why did the River Master not seek revenge? Because he knew Zhu Yu would not have wanted him to.
The River Master has to die. I thought you understood her better. Chief Zhu used to say, "Some kneel so others can stand. Some die so those who come after can live."
After the massacre had blissful retreat, he understood that when those in power seek the death of a leader, the first to die are always the innocent people of that faction. Revenge would only bring a tragic end to the people of Dragonhall, the home Zhu Yu had built. The Emperor would never allow anyone revered by the people to threaten his absolute authority, all in the name of unifying the land, all in the name of the so-called greater good. Zhu Yu chose death so that the people of Dragonhall might live. Feng Yi chose to kneel so that the people of Dragonhall could stand. Sometimes, standing tall is wrong if it leads to the tragic end of innocent lives and everything they have built together. Feng Yi loved Zhu Yu in a way no one else could, and understood her more deeply than anyone. She had always believed that those who cannot save others are also those who cannot save themselves. And so she sacrificed herself, believing that her children, her people of Dragonhall, and her husband would live on, managing the dikes, taming the river, and safeguarding the people. Back then, Feng Yi could not understand why his wife insisted on carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, why she would smear herself with mud and gold, playing the role of a bodhisattva when she was only an ordinary woman. She smiled and said, "A clay bodhisattva is still a bodhisattva. When clay dissolves in the river, it is not washed away. It returns to fertile soil. It returns to the people." Perhaps this rough man did not fully understand her then, but if she chose to be a bodhisattva, he would become the blue lion or the white elephant that carried her. After Zhu Yu's death, Feng Yi ordered Dragonhall to rebuild the dike, then journeyed north to investigate Chai Rong's death. Aware that Dragonhall remained loyal to the fallen dynasty, the Song court retaliated by redirecting the main grain transport route south to the Bian River, attempting to force Dragonhall into submission. But Dragonhall harbored deep resentment toward the Song, both for the mutiny and for its suspicion that the court had orchestrated Zhu Yu's death. To buy time and preserve their legacy until their father returned, the two children, Feng Ruzhi and Zhang Shuo, devised a dangerous ruse. Dragonhall was split in two. In the south, Jade Serpent Hall, under Zhang Shuo's leadership, they submitted to the court. In the north, Dragonscale Hall, led by Ruzhi, remained defiant. On the surface, the two halls became rivals. In truth, it was a calculated deception. The siblings remained secretly allied, a rebellion quietly biding its time. Jade Serpent Hall prospered along the Bian River, while Dragonscale Hall fell into hardship, surviving on communal meals and scarce supplies. Yet hardship forged strength. Still young, Ruzhi grew into a leader her people trusted. To sustain the sect, she hosted a marriage tournament, earning prize money, selling her mother Zhu Yu's Cornus soup, honing her martial skill, and perhaps, unknowingly, searching for something more. To secure grain for the people, Ruzhi joined Yinyan's treasure basin plan. Grain was from the granary of plenty and smuggled through underground waterways to ghost markets, hidden inside coffin boats at Baima Station. It fed the poor and Dragonhall. Like Feng Yi said, Zhang Shuo knelt before the court so the Dragonhall could survive. In contrast to Zhang Shuo and Ruzhi, Zhu Yu's death cast a long shadow over Zheng E. He hated the Song Court, not only for its role in his adopted mother's death, but also for handing Plainsfield to the Gracetown villagers, the same bandits who had destroyed his home 12 years earlier. Zheng E fell into darkness. Once gentle, he came to believe that kindness had no place in a chaotic world, and that only the death of all villains could allow the good to survive. He plotted to cleanse Kaifeng with the dawn to dusk poison, preserving the bodies of his sister and family with the dawn to dusk blossom as a reminder of injustice. He joined Yingying's treasure basin plan and asked Aunt Han to change his face to resemble Shen Yilun. Shen Yilun, burdened by guilt over his friends' deaths, had become the court's master of grains, managing the granary of plenty. Though he repeatedly urged the court to release grain to ease southern famine, he was ignored. On his return from a southern inspection, Zheng E abducted Shen Yilun and imprisoned him beneath the granary of plenty. Taking his identity, Zheng E became master of grains, handling court affairs while secretly diverting grain through underground routes. The grain was passed to Ruzhi and distributed to the poor through the ghostlight market. Imprisoned, Shen Yilun grieved for his friend's descent, but believed Zheng Er's kindness was not fully extinguished. To awaken him, Shen Yilun burned Zhenruan's preserved body and chose death, hoping to sever Zheng Er's obsession and burn away his inner demon. The fire 12 years ago had killed the good within Zheng E. This fire was meant to burn away his inner demon. In the end, Zheng E may have finally awakened through Shen Yilun's death. Now bearing the name and face of the Master of Grains, he fulfilled the promise they once made, continuing to live under his friend's identity. For the rest of his life, he would wear Shen Yilun's face. He imprisoned his friend, only to live on as that very friend, and made real the dream they had once shared. There is a saying, when the rabbit dies, the hunting dog is cooked. When peace arrives, the generals who secured it become threats. After the fall of the later Zhou, 4 generals who had once sworn brotherhood on the battlefield met vastly different ends.
It all started when he became the emperor. The birds still fly, but the fine bow is broken.
One launched a mutiny and became emperor. One defied the new order and chose to be immortalized in flames. One submitted, only to be stripped of his military power. One survived, but was driven into madness by loyalty and regret. Their intertwined fates would shape the life of a daughter named Li Yuan, turning a gifted child into someone burdened with lifelong remorse. When Emperor Chairong died, the realm was left in the hands of a 7-year-old heir. Zhao Guangyin seized the moment and founded the Song dynasty. The day he entered Kaifeng was also the day the Yellow River flooded. Flood watcher Shishoshin betrayed his oath and did not come to the rescue. Within Kaifeng's walls, the mutiny unfolded in peace. Outside, people die in agony. Shishoshin and Murong Yuan submitted to the Song. Li Yun did not. He remained loyal to the fallen Zhou. Li Yun had an adopted daughter, Li Yuan. Years earlier, when her mother, a disciple of Moist Hill, fled an assassination attempt, she placed the child on a wooden kite and sent her flying to safety. One day, Li Yun asked Li Yuan to become Murong Yuan's adopted daughter, trusting him to protect her. To Li Yuan, it felt like abandonment. She clashed bitterly with her father and fled instead to Mohist Hill, where she discovered that the jade her mother left behind belonged to the sect. Taking this as fate, she joined it to master its mechanical arts, never knowing her father had sent her away to save her life, because he foresaw what was coming. Li Yun openly resisted the Song to repay his loyalty to the previous dynasty, despite Murong Yuan and Shishoshin's attempts to dissuade him. He sent his son, Li Shuoji, to Kaifeng as a hostage, declaring that if the boy were killed, rebellion would be justified. The Song court ordered Murong Yuan to lead the suppression, a cruel test of loyalty, forcing old brothers to turn against one another.
You entrusted your family to me. But have you ever thought that if the court won't spare you. How could they spare me?
Murong pleaded for Li Yun to surrender. Li Yun chose to immolate himself instead. Witnessing his brother's death shattered Murong. Torn between loyalty and obedience, never fully one nor the other, he slowly lost his sanity. Wei Shoji survived in Kaifeng, but resentment consumed him. Believing his father had favored Li Yuan by sending her away to save her life, he wrote to her and twisted the truth, portraying Murong Yuan as a celebrated hero who crushed the rebellion while downplaying their father's self-immolation. The letter devastated Li Yuan. She abandoned the Mohist teaching of non-aggression and devoted herself to perfecting killing machines. She returned to Kaifeng as Murong Yuan's adopted daughter, using only the name Rong Yuan, severing her emotional ties to him. She took charge of constructing the Quintident warship for the Song Court, working relentlessly, while secretly imprisoning the now delirious Murong Yuan aboard the vessel, letting guilt and madness consume him.
You've cut yourself off from family and friends. So you recall nothing, as though the past never occurred. Yet I cannot forget.
Wanting to prevent future mutinies like his own rise, Zhao Guangyan issued the Wine and Saber Edict, stripping generals of power and banning mercenaries. Only the court could store weapons. However, beneath the martial temple, Shi Shoshin maintained a secret armory, not to rebel, but as part of a Song court scheme. The ban restrained warlordism while driving weapon prices up on the black market, from which the armory profited.
If the court hadn't issued the mercenary ban, how could the armory's heart guard be more expensive than gold on the black market?
60% of the profits went to the Song military. 40% was meant for craftsmen, but Shi Shoshin quietly kept that share for himself. When Yingying confronted him, trying to persuade him to pay the craftsmen instead of funneling more money into Song military campaigns, she instead encountered Rong Yuan and revealed the truth. Li Yun's death had been orchestrated by the Song court, not by Murong Yuan's will. But it was already too late. Hatred, born from a lie, led her down wrong after wrong. She wrongly blamed her true father, wrongly came to hate her adopted father, wrongly betrayed her sect master's teaching of non-aggression, and wrongly served an unjust lord, creating a costly weapon that deepened the coin shortage and the suffering of the people. Once a proud wooden eagle flying high, she now fell hard. There was only one way to atone: to destroy her own creation. At Yingying's invitation, Rong Yuan attended the heroic assembly, helping to stage the theft at the treasure basin. Later, she joined Zhao Guangyi's banquet for the Southern Tang and Shu envoys, a gathering meant to pressure them into greater tribute through a display of overwhelming naval power. But an unexpected agreement was reached. The Song court would share the warship's blueprint with the later Shu kingdom. That single decision threatened to expose the hidden sabotage within the ship's design. And so, before the truth could surface, she chose destruction. Rong Yuan destroyed the vessel with her own hands. Though her awakening came late, she was not entirely to blame. She could still choose her own path once more, and perhaps soar high again. Young Master, Kaifeng has shown you how tangled the Zheng truly is. Do you think the court is too harsh in its effort to control all factions in the name of the greater good? After decades of warlordism, fractured dynasties, and endless bloodshed, when even emperors were not safe, it is easy to see why such measures were chosen. After Emperor Chairong's purge of Buddhism, Taoism rose in influence, but with that growth came fear of suffering the same fate. The Xuanyang cult began a dark scheme, claiming to target Jin Zhongyuan, who was in truth Zhao Guangyi, brother of Emperor Zhao Guangyan.
Pity villain, you become a murderer yourself. Evil must be completely destroyed to restore order.
By stirring old trauma and inner demons, they sought to turn brother against brother. Such is the fate of every newly founded dynasty. Threats always linger, ready to plunge the realm back into chaos. You begin to realize that the Zhonghu is no longer about which martial art is stronger. It is about the lives of those beneath the powerful and how much righteousness can survive in times of turmoil. The greater good sounds noble, yet it is built upon sacrifices made by those who never had a choice. As a righteous man of the Zhonghu, would you choose stability for the realm or justice for every life? This is why the River Master chose you for his plan, and why Ying trusted you with the treasure basin plan to ease the people's suffering. Because they know you will fight for Xia, for righteousness, choosing to walk the thin line where right and wrong are never easy to measure, which we will continue to explore in the stories of Jianghu heroes in the next chapters.